I don't care.
It
It drives me nuts. When oh well, this looks like the spider. TaylorMade's legal department going to be calling up Evnroll. No, they won't. Shut up.
There are accepted shapes. You either make those or you don't sell a lot of putters.
Welcome to 2023, Tony. Is it 2023?
As I understand it, that is correct. Yes.
This is No Putts Given. How is everybody living out there? Tony Covey, Chris Nickel, Tony at golfspy. You are in the penthouse, correct, in upstate New York. Is that where you're coming to us from?
That. Something like that. Whoa, we're just making some noises here today.
You're in the penthouse. I'm in the basement. It's 2023. Tony, if
I'm just a drywall guy, so
if 2023, I'm sorry, if January were a month, which it is.
It is, yeah, that's correct.
What would we rename January in the golf industry?
Oh man, it is. What do you want? Like embargo hell, new release frenzy. I mean, choose your adjectives, but there's a lot of new stuff coming. Oh my God.
Dante's 7 layers of embargo hell or whatever. We got the Inferno going on.
And that's just the first week.
That's just the first week. And so for those of you that do follow us here on No Putts Given, that's what January is going to be. We're going to do a bunch of episodes with all the new gear. Believe it or not, even in a 3,000-word driver article, we can't say everything that we want to or answer every question that we want to. And so on these episodes this month, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the new releases, try to answer all the questions you have. If you have more questions, post them. We'll get back to you. Like I said, there's just way more than we can even get into, but we want to get you all the goods. So today, Tony, 2 big topics today. Let's talk. Wait, hold on. What happened? Oh, I'm turning around. I'm turning all the way back around.
You did not make it the full 360 degrees.
I should have, though.
You failed. I mean, you are starting January off with it. Oh, look at that. Breaking things. Oh,
God. I know. I should have. Here, let's try it again. Almost. I almost made it. I got stuck.
So what you need to do there is shift your paradigm and become untethered from.
I do.
I don't know from what.
I don't know either. But that's first thing we're talking about. Paradym, Callaway. We're having a little fun with it because it should be fun. So we're going to go through all the Callaway Paradym stuff, drivers, fairway woods, hybrids. And for those of you in the putter space, Evnroll launched 1,278 new models yesterday. I think it's actually 15, but it sounds better. But we'll dive into those a little bit.
There's definitely some sort of exponential expansion of the lineup there, depending on, I don't know, where the decimal point is or something. I don't know. It's a lot.
Factorials, math, whatever.
I mean, that's the tagline for the month. January. It's a lot. Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Callaway Paradym. It's a new name. We're not talking about Rogue. We're not talking about Epic. We're not talking about the same names that we've talked about.
No Maverick, which was a synonym for Rogue. Unfortunately, I think this means that, as I've said countless times, can't wait for the Callaway Rapscallion driver. I don't think it's coming. Instead, we're just shifting the paradigm some more. I don't know.
But we don't know. So let's talk Paradym stuff, Tony. What do we got? Let's start with drivers, and then we'll
we are shifting paradigms. So as you may recall, when Epic launched, I don't know if it came directly from Callaway or one of the other media guys, but they said this is a paradigm shift. And then Epic Flash launched, and that also shifted the paradigm. And now with Paradym, there we go, standard Paradym. With Paradym, we are now shifting the paradigm that had already been twice shifted. So we have now thrice shifted the traditional paradigms of golf equipment, as well as shifting the paradigms of spelling as we all know it. So
all right,
stuff going on here. You and I had such a great chuckle. So actually, guys, as you're watching this, if you're one of these guys who watches it when it launches, and we appreciate the guys who do, we will
and gals. and gals.
At the Callaway Paradym launch event at Top Golf in El Segundo, which is Spanish for the Segundo.
I believe that's correct.
And they build this. The teaser for the launch of the Paradym Driver was a 360-degree shift in performance. Yeah, right back where we started. So, maybe the marketing department was given a little too much authority over there. I'm sure the R&D guys would have caught it. But here we are. We are not back where we started because we're spelling things differently.
All right. So what is we talk paradigm shift, big marketing terms, all these things. I'll go back to last year real quick with TaylorMade, right? Carbon wood face. That was a shift. That was something that was absolutely brand new. Yes, there was background. It had been done before in some ways, but okay, whatever.
For all intents and established paradigm, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this part is titanium, right?
Yep.
That's how it works in golf, and TaylorMade, excuse me, said, no, it doesn't have to be.
Mm-mm.
So
what is Callaway doing with this one, and does it warrant the same type of energy and enthusiasm behind it? So if it's a paradigm shift, they have to be changing one thing, which kind of feels like it needs to be everything in a sense. So what are they changing?
To go full circle, right? I guess you do have to change everything, and then I know. This is actually pretty fascinating. And when I saw what we were talking about here, I actually got a little bit excited.
Ooh.
Thought it was cool, which is something I haven't been able to say about a Callaway driver since Epic. I'm just sort of, like I said, right? TSA. This shit again. Whereas this is different, and I know it doesn't look different, and in fact, you are going to get some of the stuff you expect from Callaway. So we got some jailbreak under this hood, and we have AI face technology in here that's all the speed enhancing optimization stuff that Callaway talks about. But here's the ripple.
Oh, you can break it apart.
So let's start here.
You can hide things in it.
Oh, I can do. Yeah. So it's just where you put your weed, man. So that's kind of your new jailbreak. So we've gone from kind of the bars to various constructions. This one, to me, kind of give it a little bit of a canoe paddle. That's how I describe it, and that actually works because if you turn it like that, look, what do you got?
A canoe.
Yeah, and so there's the paddle. There's the canoe. Anyway,
I was going to go. Would you accept flux capacitor as an acceptable answer? Maybe. So that's the face piece, and it's kind of cool. Okay.
Right? Jailbreak again, stiffening structure, more energy transfer, probably helps keep the crown from popping off the head in earlier implementations. But here's the thing. No, look, I'll shake this out too. So there's your back piece in case we missed it when I took it apart. But this is what's new. This is where that 360-degree shift come from. Here we go.
It's a tube.
It is.
It's a periscope.
It is a
microscope.
360-degree carbon tube. This is it, right? 2 pieces of carbon. So you've got triaxial carbon crown. It's Callaway's proprietary sheet fiber. Fundamentally, it's not much different than the carbon fiber everybody else is using.
Yep.
On the underside here, we have their forged composite, which we've joked it's basically bits of chopped up carbon fiber molded together. It is a bit, in that sense, like particle board. But joking aside, the advantage of this forged composite material is that you can create more complex shapes than you can with sheet fiber. So you can do a little bit more with it. And really, the thing is, this is it. This is the whole of the driver, right? There's no other parts that I haven't showed you.
So there's
what we have here is
4 parts, basically. You have a crown and a sole, both of which are carbon that connect. You have your faceplate that will look at, what goes on there, and then you have your back weighting.
Right. And the thing is, this is 100% carbon fiber. Granted, mix of triaxial and forged composite, but there's no titanium in here at all. So
no titanium,
when I first saw this,
steel.
I was like, no, it was like, hey, Callaway went and inverted a stealth. It's basically so this is actually if you're not familiar with driver design, you may think, so what? But everything in driver design, or a good bit of it, is about saving weight from structures and putting them in useful places, whether that's all the way forward, all the way back. Going back to rad speed, Cobra talked about the radius of gyration, right? This idea that we want to take big pieces of mass and move them away from the center of gravity. So when you have a titanium chassis, and I didn't have one, I tried to find one, still haven't fully unpacked the workshop. But usually you have like these titanium structures, and there's some type of, like, Ping calls it like their dragonfly. You may recall Cobra did like T-tops, and you've had variations of it on the bottom as well, where there's essentially titanium running through the whole thing, eating up weight. And so Callaway has this hollow carbon tube that on paper is like a massive weight savings. Again, saving weight, you can move it forward, you can move it back, you can basically do whatever you want to with trajectory and spin, which is, to a degree, the holy grail. Now, that being said, right, there's a lot of, I don't know how well, let's see if I can get the light in. There you go. There's a lot of like epoxy and stuff in here, and that has a weight cost. And there's some thicker areas of the composite right on the lip here. That has a weight cost. And you've got, right, all these, like, these ledges, these supporting structures. These have a weight cost. So your actual savings is never as high as its build. But this is progress, and I suspect that Callaway has been really aggressive in terms of, using a lot of glue to hold it together, all the support structures, making sure that this thing does not just, come apart, go flying. When you hit it, you don't want that happening on the golf course, right?
No, you do not.
So I think if this proves to be the future, and I think this is Callaway's future, then, as with anything else, as technology evolves, as manufacturers become more confident in what and how far they can push it. Like, maybe we don't need as much glue. Maybe we don't need it to be as thick in this area. You start shaving that down, saving more weight, and you can do more in terms of whether you want to shift that forward and add ball speed, kind of get that low spin fast driver, or you want to push that weight back and do more with MOI and forgiveness. And part of the benefit here is, because you're saving weight in that chassis, you don't have to make that driver like this big. Like, that was the thing with Rogue, right? It was forgiving by Callaway standards, again, philosophies between companies. We talked about this, but that thing was like really elongated.
It was really stretched.
This, I mean, again, trying to find decent lighting for people, relatively normal looking, I would say. And you're getting a driver that, in the standard version is more forgiving than the Rogue was in a more compact footprint.
All right, so let's
recap. I said a lot.
It is a lot. So let's recap. Let's get a couple bullet points for the people taking notes at home here, which includes me. All carbon construction. So we have a
360-degree carbon chassis.
360-degree carbon chassis. You mentioned weight, and in driver design, and we're not going to see this in the fairway woods and hybrids nearly as much, every 1/10 of a gram matters, right? Every little bit of weight that you can either save or reallocate or move around can impact the location of the center of gravity, which, as we know, is it fair to say it's the key determinant in terms of launch, spin, and speed? I know they all work together, but
it's up there on the list for sure. That is your, throw loft at it, obviously, but all things being loft neutral, that is your predictor of those attributes for sure.
So in the grand scheme of things, why does this matter? Why does this design matter to the everyday 15 handicap consumer that might be looking for a new driver this year? That we look in our studies and our feedback and stuff. Yeah, people are buying a driver every year, and you shouldn't be. But for those people that are out there saying, "Hey, I am going to look at a new driver this year," you and I have both stated that we think this is going to be a fantastic year for people that are in the market to buy a new driver. Why should I care globally about this Callaway one?
It's tricky because fundamentally it allows Callaway to do things that they haven't been able to do before, right? Again, you're able to push mass to different places, because mass in the center of the club head is, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's not ideal, right? You typically have to have these structures, but they eat weight, and in the middle of the club head, weight does nothing for you.
Doesn't
So
help.
it allows, by taking weight out of that chassis area, allows Callaway to put weight where it hasn't. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a better driver for you. But it does allow them to sort of fit in places they haven't before, in theory. And again, do things with, hey, maybe I want a higher MOI driver. Maybe I love Callaway. Maybe I want a really high MOI driver or relatively high MOI driver. But I don't like that bullet shape that Callaway had to use before. So it's, again, it's a lot of this, and this is true for every company. It's just moving things around and tweaking things here or there to ultimately get a product that either does something fundamentally different. And again, I think the triple diamond probably will, or do something fundamentally the same, but in a little different package that maybe is more appealing, more traditionally shaped, things like that. And that's what we're seeing here. And this is a first generation product. So first time they've made one of those flying tubes over there.
Yep.
And so as this evolves into generation 2, generation 3, whatever it happens to be, that's where you start to see like expanding the capabilities and pushing limits and really starting to take advantage of it. Generation 1 is almost a proof of concept, probably playing it a little safe, but it kind of opens up that door to see what may be possible in the future.
All right. So we hear this in other industries, and I had a friend that worked in the automotive industry that always told me, he said, hey, never buy the first generation of anything. When a car comes out, the new one, there's bugs, there's things, they haven't refined it. Do you think that holds true for golf equipment? Saying, hey, you know what, if you're into this and you think it's cool, don't buy it. Wait until, because they're already working on the next generation. Well, every company, right?
And the one after that.
And the one after that, right?
So they're at least 2, maybe 3 deep right now. But that's the reality of it. And you can't.
That's every company.
Saying, all right, I'm gonna wait for that third one in line because it's going to be so much better. Well, by the time you get to that one, there's 2 more behind it. So at some point, you have to buy anyway. And I think, but I'm talking specifically
generation 1 of a new, something like this that's that new. Do you wait?
It's going to perform. You're still going. The center of gravity is where it is, right? There's not going to be sort of some deformity that makes it perform poorly. Your only risk is the structural stuff. Are these things going to fly apart? That's always my concern with a new construction. When we saw Stealth last year, hey, is this base going to crack? Is it going to delaminate? Is it going to stay attached? Those are the type of questions you ask. And look, it sucks if that happens, right? And your driver literally comes apart or it cracks or something like that. But Callaway will replace it if that happens. And not ideal, but again, as you and I have learned through the years of having these conversations with OEMs, the first one is probably never going to be the best of a sequence because it's the proving ground. Like I said, there's a lot of glue here. There's a lot of structure. We're going to be really aggressive in how we put this thing together to make sure it stays together. But it's still going to be a good driver. Yeah, the next one down the road probably has greater weight savings and, again, potential to boost MOI even farther or further, or move that center of gravity even more forward to really kind of maximize ball speed and low spin and things like that. So I think it's going to evolve naturally, but I don't think fundamentally you have to avoid a generation 1 product by any stretch.
Yeah, and in the coming weeks we'll talk about another. We saw this week on Monday the conforming list. Obviously, Paradym popped on there. Stealth 2 popped on there. And to your point, and we'll dive more into that, is how much of a difference is Stealth 2 versus last year's Stealth? I mean, those iterative type of changes. But back to Paradym, Callaway had 4 models, right, previously. Now we've compressed 4 models into 3.
Into 3, unless you're looking at the USGA list, in which case there are 8. So,
So for us consumers,
there are going to be 3. And so let's start. So here's your standard Paradym.
Okay.
This is the only one that has the sliding. Callaway calls it the AWP, the adjustable APW, the adjustable perimeter weight. So the sliding thing. So this is kind of your middle of the market. Callaway says this is kind of a replacement for the what they call the standard Rogue. Was it Rogue last year? Last year was a Rogue, right?
Rogue ST. Yep.
Yeah, your Rogue ST and maybe a little bit of that Rogue Draw model. That's kind of or excuse me, the LS rather.
Okay.
So the Rogue Max LS.
So that's the meat of the market.
ST.
That's your.
It is, and I was a little concerned to see like, hey, we're going to take the LS, which for my money, I think for we would say inside mygolfspy that has been the top performer in the Callaway lineup for the last couple of generations. I think 2 years ago was the most wanted winner. I mean, it's just fantastic. So
fantastic.
It makes me a little nervous to see that they've kind of rolled it in here a little bit, but we'll see. But yeah, as you said, this is kind of the for everybody. Again, reasonably. Nothing super offensive in the shape here.
Okay. So that's the meat of the market. Down the middle.
Yeah. Let's move.
And then we got two other models. Diamond. Okay.
So this is a triple diamond. This could be your 3 diamonds. See? So low spin. Notice, like, again, this is kind of the better player's driver, although I kind of hate that designation because, they're trash. I
was going to say,
I
feel like
trash golfers like me will need low spin too sometimes. And so
trash golfers,
see, right?
Yeah,
like me. So they've removed the Callaway logo here, right? No alignment. 3 diamonds. Again, this one's going to be that the one I showed you, the standard Paradym, is probably going to have a slight draw bias. This one is designed to be completely neutral. So
weight forward
system.
Weight forward.
14 and 2, weight forward by default. That's going to get you your low spin. And if you need to get a little higher launch, maybe a little more spin, a little higher MOI, a little more forgiveness, right? You can flop the weights and put the heavy one in the back.
Same size? I guess. Is it still 460, 450?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I didn't see it in the press material, but I'd say this is your classic pear shape, right?
Yep. Yep.
I'm not going to go all the way around.
So, all right. So we got triple diamond, lower launch, lower spin, standard, and now Paradym X.
But not triple X.
What would have
gone?
That could have. They could have sold a lot of those.
I think so. So as you can see, this one is bigger, and this is going to be. This is kind of the replacement for either the Rogue ST or the ST Draw. They changed it to X because, and this is going to come as no surprise to anybody, but consumers and to an extent fitters weren't really big on having draw in the product name. Like, golfers know they need draw bias, they just don't want it rubbed in their face kind of thing. So there we go. Bigger footprint, longer. Maybe see it a little bit of this address type view. It's kind of pulled down into the heel.
A little bit, but it doesn't. If we go back a couple generations, and this is going to hold true on the Fairway Woods as well, from what I've been able to tell and see, the models, again, to your average consumer that's walking in, it's the same kind of thing. Like you walk into your Best Buy or whatever, and there's 84,000, TV screens on the wall. And right next to each other, you can see differences that, they're trying to point out to you. But the draw bias model doesn't look, to me, very draw bias in the sense that you're not going to look down and go, oh my gosh, this thing has.
Yeah, when I set it down, I'll tell you though, when I picked it up for the first time, I thought I had the standard Paradym in my hand, and I actually had this X, and I looked down and it's like, nope, don't like that. Kind of looks. Again, I noticed that pulled down into the heel bit, and it just looked a little closed to me, and I was like, oh my god, what have they done? And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine because that's the look for that guy,
right?
So disaster, crisis averted, whatever. But I think, like you said, I think it's not obscene, and so if you are looking for a little bit of forgiveness, it may look comfortable or confidence inspiring to you. It's not my cup of tea personally, but
right. But it doesn't have. It doesn't have like. I mean, we've seen this in some drive, right? It doesn't have like offset, right? Or it doesn't look where it's so far upright that the toe is like pointing straight up, where you're like, oh my word, like this thing looks like it can only, hit the ball left for a right-handed player. I thought it looked, reasonably within that space of draw bias models, relatively neutral compared to other draw bias designs that we've seen. Like it didn't seem
noticeable but unoffensive.
Yeah.
Noticeable but unoffensive. So as you can You see it more if I go from. Let's see if I can hold them both. So I find like the profile view is where you can really see the shape. So you can compare that. I'll see if I can stack them a little bit. Like this one's going to be taller. And,
you can see the rear. Kind of that raised skirt a little bit.
You can see the junk in the trunk. But
But again,
not offensive.
No, and you got to put them side by side to really notice a lot of things. I don't think golfers are going to look at that and go, yeah, like you said, maybe noticeable, definitely not offensive.
I mean, and that's, that's part of what you get when you need higher launch and draw bias and higher MOI/forgiveness. And, in terms of the big picture, the Callaway kind of hints at speed, and they're never going to sort of go, oh, yeah, no, we're never not going to say something about speed. So, yeah, they're going to be fast. Everything's fast. Okay, whatever. But what they're really talking about with this line of clubs is more forgiveness or higher MOI. And that's, again, Callaway, we've talked about this, not the most transparent with numbers. They're not going to come out and tell me, oh, yeah, our MOI is X, and you can go compare that to the market. They're going to talk in broad terms. Right. And so what they're saying is more forgiving than rogue. And again, you're getting the smaller footprint. So there's a forgiveness element to the larger picture. And then the other piece of it is they're saying, hey, tighter, more consistent. And again, consistent is a synonym for forgiveness, but sort of tighter downrange dispersion. So this is going to be fundamentally a straighter, more consistent driver as well.
I was going to say, Tony, don't quote me on this, but it almost sounds like Callaway, and we're seeing this from others, is using accuracy as a talking point, as a benefit for golfers in terms of selling more product.
Yeah, it seems to be
what a concept
thing this year. I mean, this is like the early 2023 trend. Is this kind of movement? We talked about it with the Mizuno irons. Kind of this movement away from speed and distance at all costs. I think Callaway's not saying their should be shorter. I have no reason.
No.
To be shorter. But the emphasis here is on that downrange dispersion. Hey, it's gonna be long more often, and it's gonna be straighter, and ultimately it's gonna be a better playing driver. If you want to plug that into a strokes gained calculator, it suggests you'll score better with that type of equation.
Yeah. So we're going from, theoretically, right? Going from, hey, let's win the home run derby, indoor fitting. This is, you get that one ball
YouTube review.
YouTube review. We're going to win that at all costs and kind of let the chips fall where they may, even though we know, and the industry has known for a long time, that type of approach does not guarantee at all that a person is getting the equipment that will actually help them shoot a lower score. That there are so many other factors and things in play. And now we are seeing this shift, or kind of this trend toward golf companies manufacturing, changing things based on what we've all known for a long time actually helps golfers play better golf, and incorporating that into designs. I think that's part of the reason you and I said this could be a phenomenal year for drivers in general, because companies are more apt to talk about that.
So, a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this, but let's talk about this real quick.
What's this?
I don't know, again, not coming through real great with the studio lights and whatnot, but what color is that? It's
black.
Blue. No, it's like a deep, and I'll put up some better pictures hopefully, but this is like a legitimately, it's kind of in this lighting, it's kind of a dark blue, but when the sunlight hits it, it's a pretty vibrant kind of dark teal. And so I do wonder, like, man, going all in on a blue driver, I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. It's not my favorite, but I know that the market as a whole is finicky. And this is one of those things where if you sometimes look at golf companies and go, what the hell are you doing? Like you're so consumed with some of this look at me crap and making sure that your product shows on TV that fundamentally, like, who are you trying to sell this to? Who is this for? And then what does that audience want? And the case I'll give you is let's talk about the TaylorMade Stealth.
Let's talk about
it. Red face, bright accents, not a bad looking driver. And again, you needed to call attention to a specific technology, and maybe, a 360-degree carbon tube is tough to call attention to. And so maybe that's the thinking behind this blue driver. But going back to stealth, right? Like, some people didn't like the red and kind of even the color of the crown and the top line and all the things TaylorMade did to kind of make it pop on a rack and on TV.
Right.
And then they did kind of that black on black on black run of kind of that they launched really late last year in limited release. And like, oh my God, everybody's like, oh, I love that one. It looks great. And that's the one everybody wants. TaylorMade knows it's the one everybody wants. And I'm sure that Callaway guys would be super excited with a full black or murdered out looking Paradym. But they gave us this blue thing. And again, I don't hate it. It's not my favorite. It's fine. But I do wonder if this is the kind of thing that's going to hurt them at retail, or if it comes down to a choice of two drivers that somebody likes, and it's a guy who tends to be more traditional or wants black or something like that. His only choice of Callaway is blue. I don't know. I think it's probably not going to cost them tens of thousands of sales, but a handful here or there for sure. So anyway, let's talk about fairway woods and hybrids.
Tony, what do you care most about when you're looking at a fairway wood or hybrid? If you're looking to get fit for one or a new one? Because to me, the first question I always have with any new release like this is, okay, companies build a whole release on a concept, right? And there's a concept, there's probably 2 to 3 main talking points, and the driver gets the lion's share of the attention, right? It's the star of the show. Totally get it. But oftentimes, the fairway woods and hybrids, they kind of get the trickle down technology effect where,
and sometimes the only technology that trickles down is the name.
Right. Sometimes it's name and a paint color, right? It's, I call it the rhino, right? The release and name only, where it's like, hey, it's this, but it doesn't really get any extra of that. And we see different ranges of these things. So with Callaway, with this one, it's somewhere in between those two, where and it's realistic, because when you have a fairway wood or a hybrid, the heads themselves are much smaller, right? Much smaller, and they're heavier. So to move weight around here and shift it there, it's not hard at all for the engineers that are doing it.
You don't need a 360-degree carbon tube.
No. I mean, if designing the driver with that type of construction is calculus, trying to save weight on a fairway wood is, minute 1 of Algebra 101. It's not that hard. It's not a stretch for these guys and gals that are engineers to do that. So the question then becomes, okay, what of that technology can we actually still remain or keep on and use in a way that's ultimately beneficial? So biggest things that people are going to see with the Paradym fairway woods and hybrids are consistency in the naming convention. So draw is gone, X is in. Same kind of models. Triple diamond is going to be your lower launch, lower spin, maybe slightly faster. And your performance story is the same, where Callaway has some information, robot testing specifically, that shows increased ball speeds, which again, grain of salt. We're still yet to see any company come out with robot testing that says, hey, it's slower.
It's a little bit slower than last year.
A little bit slower than last year. We didn't. Yeah, I mean, again, so we haven't seen that. But it's blue. And typically, and this is every single company, right? They're testing against one of two products. It's either their previous generation product or everybody else's previous generation product, right? Because nobody can test against the coming products from other companies. So you're always somehow testing backwards in a sense.
Yeah, you definitely don't have a situation where you can reach out and be like, hey, it's Callaway calling. Hey, TaylorMade guys, would you mind sending me your new stuff that's not released? We just want to do some competitive testing. We're definitely going to win. I mean, that's how it works. No, we do the test. Home team. Sorry. Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Do you need the shipping address, or you just want to run them across the parking lot? So, and I say that too, because last year, I think the Rogue ST fairway woods never get the attention I feel that they deserve, but it's a personal issue.
It's a better story last year, I thought.
It was a better story with the batwing structure. So basically what they did, right, and maybe we can show a picture of this, right, is they actually called it like jailbreak ST, which I'm like, come on, man, it's batwings. And, instead of going with 2 bars or anything kind of in the middle of the face connecting sole and crown, they moved those structures to the heel side and the toe side, and they look like little bat wings, right, that connect. Again, same premise, sole and crown connected, but that allowed the face to flex a little bit more. And you talk to the people at Callaway, they would even admit that the jailbreak, those vertical structures towards the middle of the club, actually probably inhibited ball speed. If anything, they kind of quote unquote got in the way a little bit. And so by moving those to the external, to the heel and toe, I thought that was fantastic. It could be part of the reason, in our survey data that just came out, the number one purchase fairway wood and hybrid last year by mygolfspy readers was Callaway. Callaway led the pack on fairway woods and hybrids, and I don't think that's a mistake.
I believe that's true for the market as a whole as well, not just our readers, I think.
Yeah, and so it leads me to say that maybe, just maybe, Callaway fairway woods and hybrids aren't getting the love in the grand sense that maybe they should, or the lion's share of the attention. But I think Paradym builds on that, and I think that at least at face value, Paradym is perhaps slightly better than Rogue ST, if for no reason other than adjustability is back. So if you remember last year we had the glued hosel situation. Feedback was mixed, but more negative than positive. So Callaway said, hey, let's bring back the OptiFit hosel. Let's bring back adjustability. But Tony, what's the biggest problem with adjustable hosels?
I mean, it's fine because it's this cycle they play, right? They take out the adjustability. Like, oh, we took it out because we can save weight there and bundle in a little bit better performance with a glued hosel. And then the next year, fitters told us they really want the adjustability back in, so we put it back in. And we don't talk about the fact that last year we told you that we got better performance without it, so now we're maybe giving some of that back for adjustability. But that's always the give and take. There's always a trade-off. I don't care what anybody says. There's always a trade-off. So I tend to like adjustability in pretty much everything.
Well, then you'll like this
every little bit again, because I find like a lot of improved performance is actually gained not through technology but through proper fitting. And so if you give me the tools or give the fitter the tools to dial in the golfer that much better, I think ultimately you get a product that's going to perform better for it.
Probably.
So, I mean, I get the trade-off and the back and forth there, but from a fitting perspective, it's definitely better.
So here was something I found interesting as I'm looking through the presentations and stuff. I noticed that I'm like, because again, batwing, heel side, toe side, but then on some pictures and images, the batwing was only on the toe. I'm like, where'd it go? So it turns out can't do the OptiFit hosel, adjustable hosel construction, and batwing on the heel side. So you get batwing on the toe side, trade-offs, right? Trade-offs. Now, Callaway is saying that the adapter provides some of the same stiffening benefits that the batwing does. I don't know that I totally buy that, in the sense that if it were just as good, then why would you have it at all? I don't know. That part doesn't totally line up for me, but I need somebody smarter than me to explain it to me how that actually works, because the batwing itself connects the sole and the crown. I don't believe an adapter actually connects anything other than the shaft to the head, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's not the same. So
it's not the same,
but right. You get some
of the benefit, but if it's glued, then you do have room. So basically that's the deal with the Rogue, or sorry, not the Rogue, with Paradym, is if you, that's the trade-off.
If you're serious about fitting, while there can be a performance benefit to glued hosels, it's just such a liability in a fitting environment. And some companies have fitting heads for glued hosel clubs, and the point I would make there is that as soon as you put an adapter on a glued hosel club, it's going to play a little bit differently. So,
Right.
you know, you're fitting for something that isn't exactly the same as what the consumer is going to get. So,
Well,
again, trade off. But yeah,
Tra-
I'll take the adjustable hosel all day long.
I'll take the adjustable hosel too. And, you know, the other thing here, like I said, same three models. You have a standard, you have an X for the little bit more drawbys, and you do have a triple diamond option in the fairway woods as well. So, but here's the thing that I think about too from a fitting perspective is, don't assume that if you're, let's say you fit into the triple diamond driver because you need that lower launch, lower spin, that you're automatically going to just get the matching luggage, right? Oh, then it means I need a triple diamond 3-wood and 5-wood or whatever. You really have to look at the launch and spin characteristics and how you use that club, right? To determine, and I think that's one of the shifts that we've seen, and we're seeing this in the hybrid space as well. You really have to answer the question, what am I going to use this club for? Do I want it to launch a little bit higher with a little bit more spin? Do I need a steeper angle of descent? Again, based on how I'm going to use that club. But I think it's a huge mistake that people, okay, yep, this is my driver. Therefore, yeah, let's just get the matching 3-wood, 5-wood, or 4-wood, 7-wood. Yep, hybrid in there. Did it because, man, by the time I'm done getting fit for the driver, I'm exhausted, and I just want to get these ones as well. So you could very easily find yourself in a situation where I want the higher launching, higher spinning 3-wood because I tend to hit it off the deck a lot, and it is really hard to hit a fairway wood high enough off the deck. That's really tough to do. So give me something that has a deeper center of gravity. Give me something that launches a little bit higher. And for me, that's going to be more helpful. But take somebody else who maybe says, you know what? I cannot for the life of me hit a fairway wood off the deck. So I never use my 3-wood for that. I only use it off the tee or something. You could get somebody that theoretically is a lower swing speed player that might do better with a triple diamond fairway wood because they just want something that is low spin and kind of acts like a driver, if you will, off of the tee, but they're never going to hit that one off the fairway. So yeah, everything has a use case, I guess.
The way I think about it, with a driver, especially, I mean, there are some people who carry 2 drivers, and that tweaks the conversation a little bit. But
sure,
your typical average golfer with 1 driver in the bag, the purpose of that club is to go as far as it possibly can.
Right, no speed limit.
And usually, by the time you get to, as deep in the bag as you're going to get is maybe a 5-iron. Where like that's where it starts for everybody. By the time you get there, it started for everybody. Hey, this is a purpose-built club, and that purpose is to go a specific distance.
Yep.
Those spaces in between, for some guys, the 3-wood for me, it's I want it to go as far as it possibly can. I'm not necessarily worried about stopping power. No, don't get me wrong. I don't want to hit these low knuckleball bullets, but
right,
if it rolls, and I'm good with that. But for me, the transition is really 5-wood and 7-wood. Both of those tend to be more target-based clubs. But you also have guys who maybe have a hybrid, a 2 hybrid or a 3 hybrid, same thing with a utility iron that is sort of somewhere in between those two. That is just this is my as far as it can go off a tee. That's not a driver club.
Right.
And so that in those cases, you tend to worry a little bit less about stopping power and more about maximizing distance. It's fundamentally different fitting equation, if you will. But yeah, so I think with the Callaway lineup, you do have some versatility in that. Hey, how do I use this club? If I'm looking for a low spin distance beast, then give me the LS, provided that I can hit it high enough to make it functional. If it's more of a target club, that's probably where the Paradyms and Paradym X start to come in. Although for some guys, super low spin guys like Philip, for example, there's no scenario in which you would fit Philip for a triple diamond anything
ever.
So
period.
Golfer dependent, scenario dependent. It's all about giving golfers options.
Yeah, and
Callaway
I think
did pretty decent job here. I still worry about missing the Max LS. I think that was kind of their unicorn, if you will, but we'll see. No judgment.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if the triple diamond can replace that, especially if you go, I'm thinking about the triple diamond kind of putting that heavier. Let's say you want to get that heavier weight in the back. Now it's kind of the max LS and a half, potentially. So kind of see there, but yeah, this space, Tony, call it, 5, okay, 5 iron and up, got it. Driver, got it. That space in between your longest iron and your driver is kind of this metalwood hybrid purgatory. And I think if there's going to be another industry shift, and we're seeing some of that with the 7-wood stuff last year, the new fairway wood and hybrid designs coming out this year, is to almost treat that like its own little equipment category and segment, because the Paradym hybrids, they're definitely bigger, right? That to me, they definitely look more like smaller fairway woods, because I think part of saying, hey, can I get a 7-wood that's maybe a hair shorter in length than your typical fairway wood, and I hit it in the center a little bit more, or man, I feel a little bit more confident hitting a hybrid that looks more like a fairway wood, right? Or you get some fairway woods that they've made a little bit smaller. Think of like Cobra's Tour, specifically like in the 5-wood area and stuff, that, frankly, it's small enough that it looks just kind of like a big hybrid. And that whole space, I think that's what I'm going to be interested to watch throughout this year, is that, because I'm going to treat it a little bit differently in terms of saying, okay, I'm a 5-iron and up guy for sure, and then driver, great. Now, if I get, say 4-iron, 3-wood, 5-wood, let's say I got 3 clubs in there, let's treat those 3 clubs like its own little equation and go, okay, how do I really want to optimize the use of each of those spaces? And is that something that I start and go, okay, what do I want each one of these clubs to do? Do I need to kind of flip that on its head a little and kind of clean the slate and say, okay, let's just start over with a blank slate and say, okay, what would I use this particular club for?
Yeah, I think the days of like, okay, 3-wood, 5-wood, and one hybrid, I think that mindset is slowly fading, and I think it should just go away entirely, because it is like different strokes for different folks, and there are a lot of ways to fill, those 2, 3, 4 spots in your bag that give you way more versatility than just, hey, all right, I bought a Paradym driver, so I'm just going to buy 2 Paradym Fairway Woods and call it a day.
Right. Get away from the matching luggage concept and, transition into something a little bit more specific. So it's going to be interesting. Last question before we move into Evnroll and some putters, just real quick. Last year, and we know this, typically at a retail environment, Callaway or TaylorMade is going to dominate in the metalwood space, particularly with drivers, right? It tends to be 1, 2, and they flip-flop here and there. It's gone back and forth.
Really
last
close.
year, Stealth got out of the gate much quicker. Makes sense. It was a better story. There's, again, a lot of pomp and circumstance around it. But as the year went on, it was kind of tortoise in the hare, and Callaway just kept clawing away. And I think they liked the position that they ended it. So this year, Tony, Nostradamus, Tony, who is going to have the better driver sales at retail? Is it going to be TaylorMade or is it going to be Callaway?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this, because I think in terms of technology, the story, it favors Callaway this year. I really like what Callaway is doing. The challenge, however, is that you really can't see a 360-degree carbon chassis. There's no real visible tech here.
Right.
I know what's going on under the hood. We told you guys know what's under here, but the average guy walking into a golf shop, this looks just like, mostly like every other Callaway driver, like any other driver on the rack for that matter, except that it's blue. And TaylorMade this year doesn't have that fresh story with the carbon face. It's, we've seen it before, year or 2, right? It's not new, but it still looks really good. And I think I've gone back and forth. And if you asked me yesterday, I probably would have told you Paradym. But right now, I'm leaning a bit towards Stealth as the Stealth 2 as the top selling driver. I think it's going to be really close. And I think, TaylorMade's done some stuff in that lineup, which it probably needed to do in terms of perception, but in terms of golf reality. So there's some good stuff they're doing there. I think that will make them more viable for a segment of golfers than they've probably been. And ultimately, when it's that close, and I think performance is going to be close because performance is always close. Like everybody who sees it just.
But not a runaway. You don't see it being a runaway one way or the other.
And I think as silly as it sounds, because I think these are going to be really close at retail. I think the relatively traditional red face notwithstanding, look at a dress of that stealth, and I think it's an improvement over last year aesthetically. I think is enough to put it just past Paradym, if for no other reason than I think this blue is just enough of a deterrent. Again, I don't hate it, but I know some people will. So I'm gonna go with stealth too, but it's by slim margins.
Okay. All right. Final thoughts. Just quick note here on Evnroll 2 putters. I know putters don't necessarily move the equipment space the same way that
necessary
metal
evil.
woods
That's
do.
how I see them.
It's generally speaking, if you don't pick up on a hole, you got to putt out at some point. So you're gonna use it. But Evnroll's been around. They've revamped this year, and we'll post the article that you can read that Dave Wolf wrote, which is fantastic. 15 new models.
So many putters.
15 new models. Now, big part of that is they're modular, right? So you get different, particularly on the V5 series, where you basically have a stainless steel face. It's kind of like built on a blade chassis, so it looks like a blade, and then you have different rear sections to pair with that face. I think it's a great concept. I know it's something they've been working on for a while. I think the look of it, when we got to see them in hand, it didn't look modular. Sometimes you
like
get
an erector set here, isn't it? Just
but sometimes you get these ones that look like a Sizemore wedge or something, where like you can tell, like, I mean, it looks like an elementary school kid like glued together a bunch of pieces, right?
That he cut out with scissors
at best. And Evnroll, I mean, they all look clean. The way that the pieces come together and attach, they don't look modular at all. They did a phenomenal job with kind of the fit and finish of them. So you have a 5 series that some people are going to look at and say, oh, that looks like, kind of like a Phantom 5.5 from Cameron. Maybe it gives you a little bit of the Callaway, the Odyssey Versa vibes. I think that's by design. Again,
the original jailbreak, sense. Right? That was the first time Callaway used jailbreak, was in a putter. The name.
Evnroll, the 12. People are going to look at it again. Dave notes this in the article. Definitely has TaylorMade Spider type of aesthetics to it. And for the record,
I've said that before. You got that as a putter. You need that shape in your life.
I don't care. It drives me nuts when people, this looks like the Spider. TaylorMade's legal department going to be calling up Evnroll. No, they won't. Shut up. It's one of the most tight.
It's weird because there's no other club in the bag. Like, I mean, people say all the time, "Oh, this looks like that" with irons and whatnot, and graphics on drivers. But like, there are accepted shapes, and that's you either make those shapes or you don't sell a lot of putters.
And to me, it's ignorant because if they know their history and they've studied it all, they know that one of Garen Reif, the owner, founder, Evnroll, one of his design philosophies is to take tried and true designs or templates and improve them. Say, okay, we think that these people maybe didn't go far enough with that particular footprint. I think I can improve it by doing A, B, C, and D. And so he'll take a design or something and say, okay, how can we push this one step further perhaps than somebody else did? So it makes sense. I mean, Adidas isn't going to call up Nike and be like, Tony, you're wearing a hoodie. You stole our hoodie design. What do you mean? Everyone makes a hoodie. Like, it's just such a tired argument. So I don't know.
I mean,
that one annoys me.
There are shapes that sell, and there are, a handful of wacky things that people try that don't. You look at this, like, even you could argue the Zero Evnroll
the
Zero,
Z.1 now,
ERZ1. That's got some spider vibes in it, but it's not gonna. It's unconventional. What was it? I don't know if it was the real name or not, but that big. I called it the brick. I think somebody else had a putter. They called that brick the super MOI square thing that Evnroll made a few years ago. They're not going to sell a bunch of those by any stretch. If you want to sell putters, you need to make the shapes that exist already in the marketplace by and large. And every now and then you'll have a breakthrough shape.
Yeah.
Spider kind of broke through, and congratulations to TaylorMade. But the consequence of breaking through with a unique shape is everybody else is going to make one because you've proven you can sell it.
Odyssey did it with remember when they called it the Fang before it was the number 7? It was the Fang kind of design. And if you talk to Evnroll, I believe this is correct, their top 2 selling models, particularly overseas, are the original 2 and the 5. And it makes sense. And those are the bread and butter. And
the answer in the Fang.
Right. And are we going to see these other ones creep up there? Possibly. I think the EV5 series itself, if you told me in a year or two that it overtakes one or the other, it wouldn't surprise me because it's modular and it does have some of those conventionally accepted smaller mallet type of designs that are popular in a lot of other places. But you always hope when something comes out new from a company, you're like, okay, same old, or is there anything that kind of makes me stop and go, ooh? This one made me stop and go, ooh, Tony. It did. I was like, oh, this is, it's 15 models, but this isn't same old, throw some new paint on it and push out a new line.
Stuff to play with.
Even
choice.
Even if it's a necessary evil for you. So there we go. That's a lot of tech talk, Tony. A lot of stuff.
Man.
People are going to have questions.
And welcome to January, guys. So next week we'll be talking details, our thoughts on Stealth 2.
Yep.
Ping G430. Is that where we are? I can't even keep track.
I think so.
Everybody's favorite budget airline, Aerojet. So
when you absolutely have to get to Tallahassee by Thursday at 8 p.m.
We'll have, and also some Shrixon stuff in the mix there. A new golf ball to talk about from Callaway. Oh, guys. I hate January, but if you love golf gear.
You love it. So if you have questions on any of those things or stuff we talked about today, we will get you the answers. Post them below. Let us know. Tony Covey, Golf Spy T, coming to us from the penthouse, upstate New York. Chris Nickel, Golf Spy C, from the basement, Colorado. Until next time, be out.